If you're planning a trip to Southeast England, then you're going to want to watch this video. In the summer of last year, a good friend of mine was getting married in Kent. Here's the purple ensemble I wore to the wedding. And despite spending most of my life in southwest England, I had never ventured east, and so decided it was the perfect opportunity. Brighton is a great spot to start any adventure of southeast England on account of the fact that there's direct trains from Gatwick Airport to the city centre. Brighton is best known for its pier, which was opened in 1899 and became an almost immediate success. As with any great adventure, our first stop in Brighton was to get coffee at Pelicano Coffee. They have a wide variety of pastries and cakes and serve alternative vegetable milks. It's also within easy distance of all of Brighton's main attractions. To be honest, Brighton is a very walkable town. And we love the cakes. We also met this really friendly dog, so all in all this cafe was definitely a 10 out of 10. Brighton Pavilion is a Grade 1 listed former royal residence and is one of the most important places to see in town. You can visit the richly decorated ornate interior or alternatively just admire the outside for free. Hands down, the number one attraction in Brighton is its pier. This is especially true on a sunny day when the weather is warm and there's no better time to grab an ice cream. Brighton Pier is actually one of the most visited attractions outside of London and sees a staggering 4.5 million visitors on an annual basis. The pier is free to visit, and from here you can enjoy uninterrupted sea views as well as views of the beach below. It's worth noting that there are also a number of amusement games on the pier, including an indoor arcade where you can play on the slot machines, and also an outdoor area where there are kind of carnival rides. There's no better place to enjoy a traditional English favourite, fish and chips served with heaps of salt and vinegar and a side of mushy cheese, than by the seaside. We went to Little Jack Fuller's close to the seafront, as they even have a tofu vegan fish and chips option. Transport links aren't that great in the British countryside, and so the best way to get around is by renting a car. This is especially true if you want to see a number of natural attractions and experience a true English countryside for yourself. Our first stop was Birling Gap, which is where the South Downs meets the sea. There's also a National Trust cafe on site where you can have coffee while looking at these cute birds. There's also an 8-mile hike of the area, though you can go down to the beach directly and enjoy being by the water if you prefer a more relaxing experience. It's worth noting that Birling Gap is also part of the Seven Sisters Chalk Cliffs. They are so cool because they make up 7 distinctive hills, and on a clear day, you can even see them from the plane coming into London. Just down the coastline from Birling Gap, you can visit Beachy Head. This area of outstanding natural beauty is considered to be one of the most beautiful locations in the entirety of the UK. Though, the cliffs are truly very high, and so be cautious when visiting, especially if you're going with children or dogs. As you approach Beachy Head, you are greeted by towering white cliffs that stand proudly against the crashing waves of the English Channel. These cliffs, composed of chalk and flint, have been shaped over millions of years, bearing witness to the ebb and flow of time. The ideal place to start your visit would be by heading to the Beachy Head Visitor Centre, which has free exhibitions detailing a history of the area. Look out for the lighthouse, which was installed in the early 20th century to help ships navigate the dangerous waters directly below the cliffs. If you're looking for the ultimate view of the Seven Sisters, then you need to look no further than the Seaford Head viewpoint. You can park at the South Hill Barn car park and walk downhill the kilometre or so to enjoy the iconic views of the chalky cliffs. If you're planning on bringing food for a picnic, this would be a great spot to have one. A seaside town that is definitely less visited than Brighton, but nevertheless has its own pier and seafront is Eastbourne. Unfortunately, there's definitely not as many attractions here as in Brighton, but I do want to point out a particular hidden gem that we discovered when visiting town. We absolutely loved Camilla's bookshop, which has thousands upon thousands upon thousands of secondhand books stacked from floor to ceiling over several levels. It's truly a hidden gem that you could spend hours in, and I definitely don't think that you'll come away empty-handed. I don't think that I mentioned this, but we actually changed accommodations each day during our trip, which was 4 or 5 days in total, in order to make the most of each town or village we visited. And so that we wouldn't have to double back on ourselves, we basically packed everything into the car and would kind of carry our things around with us until we checked into our next accommodation. By far, one of my favorite villages of the whole trip was this little adorable village called Northiam. As you enter Northiam, you are immediately struck by the idyllic countryside that surrounds it. Rolling hills, lush meadows, and meandering streams create a tapestry of natural beauty that captivates the senses. It is a place where one can escape the hustle and bustle of modern life and escape back into nature. To be honest, the charm in Northiam lies in a simple stroll around the town centre, though you won't need to set aside more than a couple of hours, as there's literally just a handful of stores in town. Of course, you won't want to miss the village church, which is dedicated to St Mary and can be visited for free. Step inside and soak up centuries of history by admiring the stained glass windows, strolling amongst the pews, and admiring the ornate carvings. Although I loved Northiam, I can't deny that Rye is another highlight of southeastern England that cannot be missed on any road trip through the area. Nestled on the southeastern coast of England, this ancient town has captivated the hearts and minds of almost everyone who has visited over the past few centuries. As you wander through the narrow cobbled lanes of Rye, you can't help but be transported back in time. Its medieval charm is evident in the well preserved buildings, timber framed houses, and winding lanes that weave a tapestry of history. Just don't forget to bring your camera and be sure to wear comfortable shoes, as there's plenty of hills. Almost every corner you turn reveals a new architectural gem, each with its own story to tell. To be honest, one of the greatest joys of visiting Rye is simply meandering through its narrow cobbled streets and allowing the town to reveal itself to you. Explore the atmospheric lanes filled with independent shops, art galleries, and antique stores. Discover unique gifts, local crafts, and one of a kind treasures. There are several places of particular note. This includes the imposing Eep Tower, which stands as a sentinel overlooking the town and is a reminder of the fortifications that once would have surrounded the whole town, protecting it from any invaders. Another highlight is the enchanting Mermaid Street, which is one of the most photographed streets in England. Lined with centuries-old houses adorned with colourful facades and trailing vines, this street evokes a sense of nostalgia and romance. Next up, let's talk about Canterbury. Get ready for a delightful journey through this charming city that's chock full of history, culture, and of course, a whole load of intrigue. This city is most known for its cathedral and can actually be reached as a day trip from London if you don't want to rent a car and you don't have enough time to explore the rest of southeast England. One of the best things to do is to take a leisurely stroll down the winding streets of Canterbury's historic centre. This place is like a time capsule, transporting you straight back to the Middle Ages. Immerse yourself in the hustle and bustle of the vibrant marketplace, where you can find everything from fresh produce to unique crafts and arts. Stop by the quirky shops, browse through antique stores, and grab a cup of coffee from one of the many cozy cafes in town. Of course, you also can't miss a visit to the magnificent Canterbury Cathedral. Unfortunately, you do have to pay to visit, and for the past few years, it's been under a ton of scaffolding. However, this architectural marvel will take your breath away thanks to its towering spires and intricate and ornate carvings. Step inside after you pay the entry fee and prepare to be astounded by the grandeur of the nave, the stained glass windows, and the pews, and even more. The last spot I would implore you to check out in southeast England is Sandwich, which is named for, as you might know, the sandwich, like the pieces of bread with the ham or the cheese or whatever. Anyway, this town is really, really quaint. It's so beautiful. The church is just stunning. It's right in the middle of the center and it's surrounded by really, really cute cafes where you can sit, have a drink, have a coffee with your friends, and kind of just watch the world go by. Another highlight of Sandwich is the ham sandwich sign, which you really have to take your photo with. It's just one of those kind of touristic things that you won't want to miss. And if you've made it to the end, thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more, and see you next time.